So let's compare the Samsung Galaxy A35, which you can get for free in most cases on prepaid. It's more of a mid-range, lower-end device versus the Apple iPhone 16 Pro, a $1,000 premium flagship from Apple. Let's compare these two phones and see how they differ and what features do they share. All right, so the A35 is a bigger overall device than the iPhone 16 Pro. It is also a heavier device. Both of these they got pretty good build quality. The A35 has a glass front and a glass back with a plastic frame. The iPhone 16 Pro has a slightly better build quality, glass front, glass back, titanium frame. But very impressive from the A35, being that you can get it for free on prepaid in most cases. Both of these support eSIM technology, but the A35 has that physical SIM card slot, so more flexibility with the Samsung. Both of these have dust and water resistance. Galaxy IP67, iPhone 16 Pro a little bit better, IP68. Now for the display, the A35 has a Super AMOLED 120 Hz display versus the iPhone 16 Pro's 120 Hz Super Retina display. So both of these have very high refresh rates, but they're the same speed. So very snappy on both of these. Bigger screen though on the Galaxy A35, 6.6 inches versus the 6.3 inches on the iPhone 16 Pro. And the iPhone 16 Pro has a slightly smaller bezel. Both of these have really nice resolutions, 390 ppi on the A35, slightly better on the iPhone 16 Pro at 460 ppi. And both of these with their displays have an always on display, which is usually a premium feature, but you do find it on the A35. So very impressive right there for the Samsung. The iPhone 16 Pro also has a distinction with having that dynamic island to kind of remove the hole punch and give you some information on there, compared to the A35, which has a very small pinhole for the camera, of the front-facing camera. So you have a very nice setup on both of these, except the feature on the iPhone 16 Pro does a little bit different, while you get more screen real estate on the A35 with that little pinhole. So pretty much all screen on the A35. Now we move on to software. You got Android 14 with Samsung UI on the A35, and you get 4 years of major Android upgrades, which is pretty decent. The iPhone 16 Pro, iOS 18, which will get probably 6, 7, 8 years of updates probably. But it's very nice to see Samsung stepping up its game in the upgrade department. Chipsets, Samsung has a mid-ranger Exynos, while the iPhone 16 Pro, Apple A18 Pro, which is going to be super speedy. But for most everyday tasks, you're not going to notice the difference between either of these. Now let's come to storage. Both of these start off at 128 gigs, but the A35 wins this department because you got the micro SD card slot, which the iPhone 16 Pro doesn't. Now, honestly, 128 gigs is very hard to fill up, but very impressive that you could, the free device, the Galaxy, starts off at 128 gigs, and you could keep going with that micro SD card slot. So the win right there in the storage department. As for the RAM, you got 6 gigs of RAM on the Samsung, 8 gigs on the iPhone Pro. Now, 6 gigs is the bare minimum I think you should be able to use on an Android phone. I'd like to start off at 8. Versus the iPhone 16 Pro, RAM is not such a big issue. Apple handles it very, very well on all of its devices. But 8 gigs of RAM is almost like overkill. But that's what they are putting in the phones now standard because of Apple Intelligence. Now let's move on to the cameras. Both of these phones have 3 cameras on the back. The A35 has a 50 megapixel main shooter, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro. Pretty nice setup for a free phone. iPhone 16 Pro, 48 megapixel main camera, 12 megapixel periscope telephoto, and 48 megapixel ultra wide. Both shoot in 4K, and the selfie cameras also shoot in 4K. A pretty decent setup on the A35, mid-range camera. You're not going to get the best. I think you need a lot of light for it to take really quality photos and videos. You're gonna get a lot of stutter in the videos, but the iPhone 16 Pro blows it out of the water. iPhones always have really great cameras, and you won't be disappointed with the iPhone 16 Pro. So if you're into videos and taking pictures, the iPhone, you cannot beat it. Neither of these devices have a headphone jack, which is a disappointment on the Galaxy, because a lot of the other phones, even lower tier phones, have that headphone jack. Bluetooth 5.3 on both devices. Both have NFC for payments, pretty much. And both of these phones have USB Type-C, including the iPhone, where Apple is pretty much putting it standard now. So it's nice to use the same charger for all of your devices, not just Android and iPhones, but your headphones, your AirPods, your tablets, your iPads, your laptops, pretty much everything. So it's nice to use the same cable. Now, to unlock the device, you got the fingerprint reader on the Galaxy A35, which is under the display, which is pretty nice. The iPhone 16 Pro uses Face ID. Both of these are very reliable to open and unlock your device, and for security purposes. Now, for the battery life, the Galaxy is very impressive with the standard 5,000 milliamp battery, 25-watt wired charging. Big battery. It's going to charge at a decent rate. No problems on the battery front. Usually Android phones just kill the iPhone in battery life. You never have to worry about it at any price point. iPhone 16 Pro has a 3,500 milliamp battery, closer to 3,600 milliamp battery, and is very impressive as well with the battery life, considering the small milliamps that it has. But you also get 25-watt wireless charging and reversed wired charging. So both of these devices are pretty good within the battery department, which most phones are nowadays. So this is a really good matchup if you really don't care about the ecosystem. The Galaxy A35, since you can get it for free on prepaid, it is such a good deal because of the 120 hertz refresh rate, the always on display, in-display fingerprint reader, micro SD card slot, and the build material is very nice with that glass on the back, which challenges the iPhone 16 Pro. There's nothing really to complain about on the iPhone 16 Pro. It is just a premium device all around, but it has the ecosystem and it has the video and picture taking capabilities, which are top notch. The other thing I didn't mention, though, that just came to mind is that the iPhone 16 Pro only comes with the eSIM available. So you got more flexibility in the Galaxy A35 if you want to swap out SIM cards, have two phone numbers. You're not just limited to eSIM like on the iPhone, on the iPhone 16 Pro. But you know, if you just want to use it for emails and apps and games, you're gonna find both of them on both of these devices. So I think the more flexible device, better of the two, is the A35 at that price point of free compared to $1,000, unless you really care about iMovie, AirDrop, the ecosystem, and that really nice camera. So there you have it, the A35 versus the 16 Pro.